26% of Black adults have bachelor's degrees. Nationally, the average is about 34.8, so 35%. A couple of things that we know for a fact is we know with each level, if you don't graduate high school, you make less money than someone who did. If you graduate high school but don't go to community college, you make less money in your life and earn less than someone who went to community college. And with every level, that repeats itself. If you get a bachelor's, you make more, you have healthier marriages, you live longer, your health statistics, everything gets better with each of these levels. You get a master's degree, it just goes on upward. Now, it's funny that the people who will tell you that what I'm saying right now is that, it doesn't matter as much in high school, our degrees don't matter, blah, blah, are the people with the most degrees. That's the funny thing is I've had more conversations over good lunches in good places where the bill was expensive with people telling me, well, college ain't for everybody. Well, it was for you, Negro. Listen, why don't you give me your degree? Why don't we trade? I'll give you mine, and I'll give you my GED, and you give me your doctorate, whatever. Because obviously you don't appreciate it for some reason.
It is Freedom Friday, and you are still not free.
Welcome to another episode of Freedom Friday. It is Friday, and you are still not free, but hopefully you will be freer after this hour with Sharif, and me. We want to talk today to you about what is going on nationally, not in any of the news that you're talking about, but the good stuff. And it leads into a bad topic, but it's a good topic. And it starts with this. All of us have had now the experience of dropping a kid off to college, right? And I just had this experience just a few days ago. And for me, it's emotional and happy, and it's just a joyous time, but it also is rife with all kinds of checklists and planning and lots of middle class kind of jujitsu that you have to do to make it work, and finances and all kinds of stuff. It's a project. And if you're not prepared for it, no one gave you the life book on how to do this or whatever, it might be a little bit of a stressful process or whatever. Thank God in my household for a director of Homeland Affairs who takes care of all this thing, and my wife who takes care of these things, because I might be a little bit sloppy with the planning if it were me. Here's your knapsack. Let's drop you off. What you need? You need some line ruled paper. Let's get you a few pencils. What do you need? Do we need to make a Costco run and get you a few burritos?
He's on his way to college. You giving him a trapper keeper.
Yep, trapper keeper. It worked for me. Didn't work for college, but it worked for me. Anyways, but what I noticed as we were dropping him off, and Ish, I know you have had this experience, and Sharif, you've had this experience. I'm watching what other people do, and I'm just like thinking, man, this is a culture in itself. The go to college culture. People did their planning. They packed stuff up, and there's the whole kind of helping them nest into their dorm and get stuff set up, make sure the bed's the right height and all that type of stuff, whatever. It's just like a lot. It's more than I remember it being. It's been a while since we did this. So it was a memory to me again of damn, this is, I thought it's just hey, bro, here you are. Here's the door, drop you off. Good luck, bro. See you in 4 years, man. Whatever.
Super involved kind of thing.
It's very involved, lots of tasks. It's a very middle class situation too. I'm watching other people who obviously have done this before, and they're. I mean, my kid, the one that we just dropped off, when we did this before, first time around, it was a little bit different scenario. That was a while ago, but now this next one, it's just refrigerators, microwaves, all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, damn, bro, what what you assaulting? Yeah, it's an apartment. You assaulting? What you got going on here? Anyways, I say all this to say this. We could talk about this process that I just talked about, but what about all the ones that are in my son's peer group age that aren't being dropped off, that aren't going to junior college next year? So I just talked about college-bound kids. I want to talk about college unbound kids. The broken journey, the broken pathway, the potential put on pause, the lost kids, the kids who nobody's looking for them, nobody's coming for them, nobody's doing a Sam's Club run or Costco run to send them off to the next leg of their journey or whatnot. So next year, this time, well, not even next year, let's start right now, this fall, as all the kids we just dropped off are having this kind of gilded experience I just talked about. What about everybody else? Even the ones who aren't going to junior college, community college, trade program, anything, what happens for them starting this fall? Where do they go and what happens? And because you all are educators, you live in an urban city, you get to see pathways broken and fixed, or good pathways and bad, whatnot. I would ask you, because I live in a city of 80,000 people. You guys live in a big city. And I want to know, with those kids who aren't signed up for something, what happens next year? What happens this fall for them? And I do want to get to a part where we say what we should be doing actually to focus on them, and who should be focusing, like in terms of mayors, educators, school systems, whatever. What should we do for them? Because it feels like to me there's more of them than there is of the kids that we're dropping off having this gilded experience. So let's get to that next, but let's just start with do y'all have recollections and memories of this drop off day thing that I'm talking about right now?
Bro, just very similarly, just dropped off a middle child, and it was very different from when I recall. It was funny because we were talking about it. She was a little annoyed with me, actually, because drop her off, and I'm like, all right, one, it's the way that their dorms look nowadays compared to, the boot camp cot kind of thing. I'm not one of those who, feel like, well, I had to pay my student loan, so everybody should. I want things to progress. I want things to be better. But at the same time, I was like, yo, this is too much. You know what I mean? Like you gotta go through a little tougher experience kind of thing, And she's like, why should we have to? I don't know. So I'm always like battling that, like what we went through. I want things to be easier, but I'd also want you to have like a real life experience. And they're like, why does real life experience always have to be this deep struggle and all this, So
that is a good point. She got you on that one.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
So it makes me like pause, I gotta like, stop. But then, so then she's like, oh, can you run me to the supermarket? I'm like, take you to the supermarket? Like, like, what are you talking about? She's like, so then she gets to the supermarket, she gets her stuff, and then she's looking at me. I'm like, I'm not paying it. I'm like, matter of fact, I'm going to videotape you paying your first supermarket bill. So then she's annoyed because not only am I doing that, I'm recording her, man, the look, and she's like, I did not expect to have to pay my own grocery. I'm like, I think this is a wonderful moment. Like, I'm cherishing this as your father, just enjoying it. And she was so annoyed with me. But
did you pay for it?
Sisters. No, I didn't. I actually I thought this was a cool, like, kind of next step in adulthood. I thought it was.
That's wrong on so many levels.
She worked all summer. I was like, she's like, yeah, but I only have $800. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's more than I got in my account right now. Like, no, pay your own daggone groceries. So,
my kid that we dropped off worked all summer too. But he worked to pay for some of his tuition this year.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're in a different situation. He had to be able to go to the college he wanted to go to. It wasn't happening without him working over summer. But he didn't work just one job. He actually ended up working two jobs and a side hustle. So he worked stocking beverages for a distribution company that stocks Walmart and Target and all of them with pallets of Coke and whatever. He did that. He also started a photography business on the side. So he took senior portraits and sports games, and he bought his own camera from China, his own lens, bought like a very expensive lens.
You guys are like the photography family. Y'all like the Gordon Parks family, bro.
You know what's so crazy? I didn't even know that it was happening. Like, this is the theory that I've said to y'all before is you put a lot of stuff in your house like a library and you put it on the shelf. So we have cameras, we have 3D print, we just different stuff. And then it's up to you. If you ever get bored, you better go find something to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't tell me you're bored. Go engage in something.
He took one of my better cameras and then behind my back bought a lens on his own and put it on there and started doing game day photos for seniors and for athletes and, whatever.
Wow. He upgraded you, bro.
Right. But this is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to outdo you. You put a whole bunch of stuff in your house. So, he made a lot of money and, but that is all so he could go to the college that he wanted to, because without that, he wasn't going to the college that he wanted to. But this thing about food, bruh, I mean, listen, one of the things you want to do is set your kids up so that when you die, you invested everything you could into them. You put them ahead of the game. So if the other kids are going to be getting their parents who are going to be setting them up with privilege, we need to institute something called Black privilege. We need to create Black privilege because yes, we need people to fight at all levels, and we need a privileged group of Black folks too. We need our kids to fight with well, not fight. Okay, because see now this people want to take this out of context. They're gonna clip this all up. Chris is racist. Chris wants to start a race war.
Violence.
You know. Yeah, it's not fighting. And I don't even like competing because we're supposed to be cooperating with the world. But whatever, I'm going to stop talking now. Ish, you had a similar situation. So what was your drop-off situation? Where are you as wrong as Sharif is, making the kids pay for their own food?
I mean, I want to. My wife has held my hand a little bit from being like outright like, yeah, that man's on his own right now.
Oh yeah, I was so glad I didn't take my wife down there. I was like, oh yeah, it's just us. I had the little sisters too, so it was like a lesson for them. They're like watching all of this. They're like, dang, dad is tough. He ain't buying them food. That's right.
Young people, here's a lesson. Take your mom. That's what I want young people to know. Take your mom. Make sure your mom is involved because with these Negroes, y'all gonna starve, just so you know. But anyways, Ish, how was the experience?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like I never experienced it before. So like I went to community college after high school. My sister never, got dropped off. I never had that experience. So my wife has, and her cousins have. So like she has the list. She's going through all the things. Oh, well, we have to do this and get this and that. I was like, all this isn't needed. Like, just drop them off. It'll be fine, And the crazy thing is, y'all talk about like y'all children working all summer. My son worked all summer and spent like $150 on a pair of jeans. And so like we're like, right before you go to college, bro, you save up all this money and just spend like $300 on like 3 pairs of jeans. And like some other craziness.
I'm not gonna let you do this. I know you spent money on something when you were younger. I know when you were younger, you spent
like
money
on
something.
Not like that, bro. And them pants and them baggy pants is coming back. Not like I'm not talking about like 90s.
You talking about hammer pants?
No, I'm talking about like those skater type pants, man. Yes. He's wearing them Johns. I'm just like,
all the
way
to the bottom. That's right.
Yeah,
baggy to the bottom.
I hated them Johns when I was a kid, and so to see my son wear them now when we drop them off.
Like,
I was just looking at him with a side eye the whole time. I was like, I can't believe you wearing these pants. You didn't look right in them pants.
So after the show, I got to Google skater pants.
That's how I felt about skinny jeans like 5-6 years ago. So you know what's interesting, Ish, about what you're saying though is like your wife had this experience, but you were like first gen. So like you were first gen dad on this situation. When you say your wife had this experience, so she had been one of the folks who got the proper drop off and all that stuff to college. Okay. Yeah. And you know what's interesting about this is, so your wife, she had the proper drop off, and then you went to community college right after. So you, her, Sharif, you guys were all tethered to something. I was tethered to nothing. Like I experienced some people say I'm going to do a gap year. Well, I felt like I did a gap decade, right? Like after, and nobody came looking for me. Like nobody was like, hey, you should get back in. There was one attempt by someone at Job Corps to get me into Job Corps. I remember that. I don't know if y'all have Job Corps in Philly like we did, but that was another place you could go. Like you go live there and get a skill and whatever. But there was a sense of being detached from everything, watching all your friends and most people you knew go to something. And, I went to food service or whatever. Now, both of y'all are wrong with your children. I just want to say that, right? Like your children, I'm glad they got mamas. I'm glad they got mothers like in their lives or whatnot. What do you think should be done for those other kids? Let's just even think Philly specific about this fall, the ones who aren't attached to something yet. What do you think is a pathway for them? What should we be doing for them?
Yeah, I mean, look, we should be investing in them, but early, not waiting till, June after they graduate. And they're like, oh, what's next? I think that, and this is one of the several critiques I have about, educating, particularly like in the ed reform, you had charter networks that had the opportunity to be innovative, yet they weren't. Right. And, and so when you say college for all, and then students aren't finishing college or not going to college or, whatever, but also ignoring like they could have made like even career technical ed, short CTE for short. They could have made that amazing. Right. And, when you said talk about food service, it reminded me of like when I graduated high school, I was the only one out of my close friends that actually was going to school. So I felt a little like I was leaving my friends. They all went into food service, most of them. They were in, and they would get me summer jobs, to work in Marriott or retirement home, kitchen. Marriott runs these huge retirement facilities that I didn't know about before.
Yeah, me either. Wow.
And so they were, several of them were in the kitchen, washing dishes, soup chefs, things like that. And so they were getting me to summer jobs. But I would always think like, wait a minute, they had shop classes for auto mechanic, electrician, all these things. But I'm like, okay, fast forward today. Like, what does it mean to leave a CTE program with a business plan, knowing how to do your taxes, right? Because you're likely not going to be able to join the Lily White Union, Carpenters Union, or the Electricians Union. It's hard to get in there because they reserve it for their nephews who live in Jersey. But what would it mean for that kind of thing to really explore career, explore what do you want to do? How do you want to impact life? What questions do you want to ask? All those kind of things, but backfill it in school. So you're experiencing it, internships, apprenticeships, all of those type of things. I think is what should be happening, along with a life plan, at least a life start. Where you're like, all right, after graduation, here's what I'm going to explore.
Mm. So, Ish, when you went to community college, I went to community college too, and it was like a little bit of a broken pathway because I didn't stay. Like I was kind of in and out, and I didn't take it very seriously. But do you feel like it gave you a leg up to still be on the path, to go somewhere, to still be on the path and to have some opportunity? Or do you look back on it and think that even that system could be done better?
I had actually a pretty good experience at community college, and I also got to say that I graduated high school with a 1.6 GPA, but I also, when I left, I was clear that I was going to go to community college and then transfer once I get my associate's degree and go to temp, a 4-year and become a teacher. So like I had that plan before I stepped into community college. So like that's what motivated me beforehand. So like Sharif's spot on with this idea of like really thinking it through, what questions you want to ask, what potential pathways you want to pursue, right? I was just lucky enough that my mother, literally later in her life, just finished that path of going to community college, getting her associate's degree, transferring to Chestnut Hill College. You know what I mean? So like I was pretty clear just on the pathway. And I think sometimes those differing pathways aren't shared with our students. I think sometimes the one size fits all, or how things fit in a bucket type of way of thinking about how to pursue a pathway, rather than the full comprehensive view that there's many paths, right? Many avenues, many ways to pursuing. And even if you're unsure of what the final destination is up front, you should be just thrusting yourself in the direction of things that interest you, that you find enjoyable to do, or somewhat enjoyable to do, and you can see yourself doing that for a long period of time. And I was just lucky enough to be very clear when I left high school what I wanted to do. So I think it's a combination of all those factors.
I mean, both of y'all have seen young people, students in your care. What do you do for the ones that have nothing that interests them yet, and they just don't see the relevance? Like you're telling them to either go to community college or to 4-year or whatever, and it's just so not relevant in the moment for them. And I think as adults, it's hard for us to understand why that might be, because we see the whole world hinges on this, and they're kind of like, no, really don't. I'm sorry. But what do you do for the kids that like really just don't feel like they're into anything yet, and they don't see the relevance of you trying to tell them to go to either community college or to a 4-year institution?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think that is beyond that. I think it's really about like, just post secondary, like pursuing education. Like what would you be passionate about learning? About from the type of experience. Like I like the idea of gap years. I know that sometimes that's for the privileged few. But I like that idea
It's
of
never a year. I just want to tell people it's never a year. It's never gap year turns into a gap 2 years, and it turns into a gap 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a part of a plan,
decade.
you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I agree with
The
I
gap
agree with
decade,
that. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So, but I think just post secondary, like, what do you want to, and I think this is where the conversation with teachers is so important, and the mindset about teachers, because some teachers, if they don't see that child as actually being their replacement, we talk about like Black teaching tradition, or like, oh, we're training our replacements, or that you mentioned something, Chris, I was listening to a while ago, where you were talking about, if they don't see the kids as better than them, right? Like, because that's how we're often like our elders who see us and we're like, oh, you're going to be better than me. You know what I mean? Oh no, you're going to go further than me. Oh, there are adults who don't look at kids that way, particularly kids from underprivileged neighborhoods or communities or maybe struggling. They don't look at them as better, so their investment is different, right? And this is why we would tell people, stop telling kids that get this and leave, or get this diploma and get a job, because that means if you're saying that, then you're automatically telling them or thinking about them like, oh, go work for someone, because you can't be the person. It's impossible for you to be the person where people are going to be working for you, right? What I mean? You can't start anything. You can just go and find a place to be in, right? And so having those conversations early, because I think the curiosity of children also often gets dulled in school, and the curiosity is also the path that they're going to be on. So if that gets dulled in school during, with constant messages, whether, outright or covert messaging, that can also impact like how, some of it is like, I don't know, so I'm going to explore. So, and when I say gap year, I don't necessarily mean like, just chilling and doing nothing, but I mean, exploratory, where it may be an apprenticeship, it may be
a structured gap year. How about that?
Structured gap year.
I like that. Okay, we just invented something. See, we do this on this show. We just created something, a structured gap year. And I want to be
like, man, we've been saying that for 10 years.
Now you haven't. Not to anybody that will listen. Not to anybody could hear you. So I'm saying right now, we claiming this one, a structured gap year, and I'm asserting myself as a structured gap year consultant. So if you have a child that says they're going to do this, call me, because I'll bring in the old Negro proverbs. Don't quit one job till you have another, and all those other type of things. Okay, yeah, you want to do a gap year? Let's do this. You mentioned something, and I want to come back to you. It's just like with this, because I wonder what would happen if your young person had come to you and said, you know what, I'm not with any of this. Like, I know I was like thinking about going to college this year. I don't even want to do any of it right now. You want to be the parent that is flexible and understands your kid. You want to be the one that is responsible and helps them plot out like a pathway to their success and know what that might be. You also don't want to be like a fascist. No, you're gonna do X. Well, I don't know. You might be, because you got the X on his hat.
Is that fascism? In your house? I don't know.
Is it fascism? Somebody tells you you're gonna do. You don't talk to adults that way. You gonna do X. You gotta do Y. I don't want to teach my kids to be playing. Well, first of all, let me just back all the way up and say everybody's got different parenting styles. You just hit on mine. I am enamored with the fact that I know for a fact that all my kids are on track to outdo me in every way. They're outdoing me in graduation. They're outdoing me in their first year of everything. They're outdoing me in 9th grade and in 10th grade and in 11th grade. And I don't mean just in grades. I just mean in terms of they're doing better than I did. Like I wiped out in all these grades, and Ish, when you just shared your GPA when you graduated or whatnot, that's my standard for like looking at my kids. Like, it took me this long to get back to photography. I got a kid that's actually outdoing me in photography. I got 2 that are outdoing me in video production, photography, business arrangements, creating their own contracts, dealing on their own stuff or whatever. They got me beat. This is the joy of a father right here, is to basically say, you got me beat. I got nothing else for you. You don't already outpace me. Now, however, I do have one, and I'm going to say, Ish, I'm asking this question not as a passive observer. I'm pretty sure I have one that's going to say to me when it comes to college time, I'm not trying to do none of that. I'm not trying to hear none of it. I'm not hearing it. So first of all, I'm going to have him call you, and I'm going to turn this over, right? This is going to become an uncle's club. I'm just going to say, yeah, well, let me, not even deal with this with myself. And so Ish, he calls you. He says, listen, my dad's trying to tell me I got to have a plan of some sort right now, and I'm not trying to hear none of it. I want to wear baggy jeans. You know, I want to work at the mall or something like that, and I want to make hip hop at night. I want to like be in my room making hip hop that my dad don't understand. So then what? Now what? Now Ish, what do you do now?
Well, first, congratulate them that it's not skinny jeans; they're baggy jeans. So that's number one. Give them a shout out, high five, and a hug.
For me, that's just even a difficult question to answer because even the oldest who just dropped off, I'm surprised that he decided that he was going to go to college because we were dealing that with him about not knowing what he wanted to do. And we made it very clear, like, well, if you're in this house past the time you graduate and you don't got nothing going on, you won't be playing video games. We won't be paying for that phone. You know what I mean? Like that type of conversation went down.
Fascism.
Yeah, fascism. Fascism's it's appropriate under that. It's like you eating off of me, bro.
It's sometimes appropriate. You know what I mean?
You ain't doing nothing. Nah, they ain't that type of party around here.
I'm not going to let y'all do this.
Chris is like free range kids, but he like free range until forever. You know what I mean? If they want to,
it is until you die.
They could free range with their own shoes that they paid for on their feet. You know what I mean? Like, that's the mentality. Like, y'all can free range, but you ain't going to do it here with my money. But I'm just joking when I say that ultimately, because really the truth is you do want the best for your children. You do want them to pursue and like you just said, like, be better than you. I would say lean into the things so if he wants to be a hip hop star and has a studio, there's nothing wrong with some type of leaning into it, but make him take it seriously. So like, what are you doing, around those contract things, explain this idea about how like, point system works on albums, if that's still a thing. I don't even know, but you know what I mean? Like, turn it into something where they have to approach it in a different type of way. It's no longer just simply something they're doing just to escape, but it's something that, they're looking at it as, okay, so what does this look like in the real world in action if this is something you would actually want to do? And make it hard for them.
I feel like that's like a great piece of advice that builds on what we just said around structure. So yeah, you want to take a gap year, structured gap year. Okay, yeah, you want to be free of all this stuff we're talking about, structured freedom, right? Like let's structure your freedom. Now, I don't think that there's any such thing. I'm only doing this to appease you Negroes on this show. Like, you fascists with your parental fascism. I feel like you free range until you die, and then they understand what freedom is, and they know what freedom feels like and looks like, so that when you dead, if anybody else comes along and tries to listen, Galatians 5, it tells you that the God freed you of all of your slavery. Don't re-enslave yourself. That is Galatians 5. And it's one of my favorite call outs from the Bible to say, I'm the one who gives you freedom as your God. And don't let anybody else take that from you. And by all means, don't participate in re-enslaving yourself. But anyways, I'm not talking.
Just a theological question.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Does it somewhere in, and I'm sorry, I can't quote it, but doesn't somewhere in the Bible it also talks about working hard, plowing the land, sweat on your brow, like exertion or something?
Yeah, that's Old Testament. You're reading somebody else's email.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. When Jesus came and Jesus said, don't worry about what you will eat or what you will wear. Does the bird worry? I mean, I created the birds. I created everybody, blah, blah, blah. Do they sit around all day long worrying about what they'll put on their body or put in their... No. They realize that this is a world of abundance. You are free and don't enslave yourself. So yes, you are right. You can go in the Old Testament and find all kinds. Anything that allows you to be a fascist is in the Old Testament. It's all in the Old Testament, and that's why y'all run to the Old Testament so often. It's like, let me find something to say. Let me find something to get rid of these gay people. I gotta go to like Leviticus or Romans or something like that. Blah blah. But no. You gotta go talk to Jesus, because Jesus said, "Listen, I made you free. I made you free. You free from the very beginning. Anything that doesn't look like freedom is actually a lie. So don't live a lie." Don't buy into the lie. But anyways, I want to talk to y'all kids, not you directly, because I want to tell the kids everything they're telling you is a lie. It's a lie. Like, they're trying to hold you down. Now, anyways, I'm joking with y'all, but I am saying that it's a very real situation that I'm bringing up to you. There's going to be a lot of people, lots of parents who are working with young, not just parents, educators and others who are working with young people where it looks like apathy, but maybe it's not. It just looks like the times have changed. They're not interested in the same stuff that we were interested in. And actually, I will say this. Our kids, there's one word in the English language that we didn't have when we were younger that they have. That word is no. They get to just say no in ways that I didn't get to say no. As a matter of fact, it throws me back sometimes as a parent. I kind of like, I'll wait. What do you mean no? Like what? What? No. And see, that's where the fascist kicks in.
No, it
Because
used to be relegated to the terrible twos, maybe three, right? Like that was when you could
yes,
get away with it. Now it's like 2 to 22. It doesn't matter. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
no, I'm
How?
just not gonna do that. Not even. I don't want to. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna. No, 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 no. Here's my favorite one. I'm not trying to.
I'm not trying.
I'm not
I'm not
trying to.
trying to do all that.
First of all, you're gonna correct this English. Trying to. What is a trying to? And two, what do you mean no? But anyways, I do believe right now, for many of those young people who we haven't invented something for many of those young people that aren't getting dropped off right now, who aren't being delivered to either a community college or to a college, and who, by the way, even without those two things, they're still not interested in a lot of other stuff. I don't know what we've invented for them.
You're spot on. I mean, that's the most of. I mean, if you think even just college degree, I forget what it is for America. 30%, maybe 35%. Black America around 30, 35%. Somewhere around there. And I remember about a decade ago, this Drexel professor looked at 9,000 high school students, and just see, okay, what is their career path? The Philadelphia Citizen wrote an article about it. Black Degrees Matter. And matter of fact, Black Degrees Matter campaign, our good friend, Mr. David Hardy, was leading that, really
Wow.
like what's the Black degrees. And this professor found that out of these 9,000 students, 87% of the Black boys, for example, had no post-secondary pursuit, no post-secondary, 2-year, no 4-year, no apprenticeship, no certificate, nothing. That's like, massive amount of students who need other opportunities. And I was with Dr. Tequila Brownie not too long ago. And she talked about, based on her research, that 9 out of 100 incoming high school freshmen will actually graduate college in 4 years. So you figure, 9 out of the 100 will finish college in 8 years. If they do 4 years of high school, 4-year college assumption, she's like, get rid of that. Like, get rid of that notion that, this super high percentage is like, oh, high school, then college, and then, pursue their career. Like, no. So that career exploration, that curiosity, that ingenuity, that innovation, that has to be early on, and it has to constantly be kindled so that they can find, okay, what is my life path? And we know that they're going to go from different experiences to different experiences. Those 30 years in the factory, all that kind of stuff are gone. For a lot of them, 30 years in a classroom, even if we're recruiting teachers, that's gone, right? And so if all of these possibilities are open, how do we make sure that they are also able to pursue impact, change? So I think a lot of the foundation is like, can they problem solve? Are they literate? Are they numerate? Can they problem solve? Are they critical thinkers? Is their creativity still being honed? To me, that's all the kind of at least ingredients, because we don't know what's next. We don't know what they're going to pursue.
Look what Ish pulled up here. 26% of Black adults have bachelor's degrees. Nationally, the average is about 34.8, so 35%. A couple of things that we know for a fact is we know with each level, if you don't graduate high school, you make less money than someone who did. If you graduate high school but don't go to community college, you make less money in your life and earn less than someone who went to community college. And with every level, that repeats itself. Like if you get a bachelor's, you make more, you have healthier marriages, you live longer, your health statistics, everything gets better with each of these levels. You get a master's degree, it just goes on upward. Now, it's funny that the people who will tell you that what I'm saying right now is that, it doesn't matter as much in high school, or degrees don't matter, blah, blah, are the people with the most degrees. That's the funny thing is I've had more conversations over good lunches and good food in good places where the bill was expensive with people telling me, well, college ain't for everybody. Well, it was for you, Negro. Listen, why don't you give me your degree? Why don't we trade? I'll give you mine, and I'll give you my GED, and you give me your doctorate, whatever. Because obviously you don't appreciate it for some reason or whatever. You do make more with each of these levels.
Changing Places. What was that movie?
Yeah, like changing our trading places. Yeah, let me do a trading places, everything. But let's move all those degrees out of the way, because I'm glad you said I might have David Hardy. I'm going to try and get an interview with him to see what he learned in that process. But if we take the ones who don't have any of the college degrees, there still is a variance in who is successful even out of them. So I would love to study them away from all the degrees and just say, which of you actually have the better pathways? Like, is it entrepreneurial? Is it what is it like? Because in that group, there's some that will succeed more than others. But Ish, I want to say this, I want to bring this back to you again, because what Sharif was just raising, and what we kind of raised with these statistics, just because you go into college doesn't mean you come out the other end with a degree. And as a matter of fact, in 4 years, 4-year graduation rate is abysmal across the board. Like with everybody, like the 4 years is like the 5 and 6 years is the new 4 years for a lot of college students now. What you gonna do for your one that you just dropped off to help persistence? Like, you dropped him off, he's there now. Now what, in terms of like, what's your job as persistent man, like to make him persistent and finish?
Definitely check in with them on an ongoing basis, make sure that
or send your wife, not you, but
yeah. I mean, tell you the truth, that's the way we got to roll. I mean, he kind of rolls his eyes at me now, just like, I can't do nothing right. No, it's not that you can't do nothing right. I'm just trying to put you on game, right?
The bar is the bar, bro. You know what I mean?
It doesn't help that he has my name too. So he always feels like he's under the Ishmael shadow. But for the most part, I would just continuously remind him, if this is the path that you're pursuing, you have to put what is necessary in. You have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do later on. Because like ultimately, my hope for my children to even like pursue college, right? Because I do want all 4 of my children to pursue college, is that they have options, right? And have increased options, even if they don't pursue necessarily something later on, a profession later on in life that you even need a college degree. But it's that process of like thinking, it's that process of like, what other time in your life you're going to be able to be around a bunch of other people talking about ideas, right? And that's all you have to do all day, besides like, your side hustle to pay the bill, and then like socialize with folks. So like for my son, that has been like the continuous argument that I've been making. And then what else would you be doing, if not this, right? So that's how personally I'm going to try to keep my son on track, and send my wife to handle some of them details. But like when it comes to just overall generally, when it comes to kids even going to college, I think sometimes we neglect that class conversation, where folks don't even know about like the options, right? College just seems unattainable. They don't know anybody that's ever been. They've never been, you know what I mean? Visited, none of the cousins have been. And I think that goes across all racial lines across the country also. Like you were just saying, there's like this existential issue of like a lot of people going to college and then not being able to finish, or then being extremely in deep debt and unable to get a job, right? And those are real conversations and real realities that are happening. I do get, and this is just me, pushing back, I do get a little concerned where it seems like a lot of children that look like us are being steered in one direction around this conversation, especially at schools and school systems that serve those children, that place that kind of like that argument, well, not everybody's going to go to college. Yes, most people won't go to college. Most people don't have college degrees. But what does that end result in what you're pointing to as a solution? how much evidence do you have to prove that you're doing those type of things to make that happen? And I feel like that conversation is like skipped over, and it's just like, this is the solution. We bring these folks in, we bring these folks in. And I think it lacks like kind of like the larger kind of issue that we're dealing with collectively as a society, collectively as a group. And that is kind of like not caring about learning or finding the easiest, fastest way to get things done with as little cost as possible. And I think that is detrimental. Like that hard thinking isn't going down. I don't care if you know what I mean, if you become a carpenter or an electrician, but I still want you to read books. I still want you to be engaged as a citizen in this, country, in this world, and be able to interrogate it and ask and be an informed voter and all those things. And I think that's what's getting lost in the sauce sometimes with these conversations.
Yeah, and we spoke about this a little while ago when that article came. Well, several articles came out about more Black boys or young men were not going to going to college at all. So I think it's, and I think that trend had been happening, already, but it, exacerbated for many reasons. So this is real, like how to engage youth in the learning process. Part of it is they got to feel like they're citizens and there's a future in it. That's a huge part of it. Like that's why there's so much struggle, whether it's attendance or anything else, right? Like just the engagement and looking at them as our replacements is a whole orientation that I don't think is as pervasive as we need it to be as a society.
I just want to say that's a beautiful point that you just made right there, because if we tell students you go to school and in order to get a job to make money, right, and be like, I can make money right now. Why am I sitting here listening to y'all talk all this nonsense? I don't need this.
I gotta sit here all this time to make money. The boy down the street making money. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's funny. I think I just saw a clip. I want to say it was Too Short. Who's got to be my age. But, Too Short's been around for years. I remember years ago in Oakland, I bought a mixtape from a dude. And he's like, you got to listen to this. It's some of the funniest stuff you've ever heard in your life, blah, 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 whatever. And these tapes were being sold in Oakland out of trunks, out of a person's trunk. And this is early Too Short. This was Too Short from way back in the day. Like I bought a mixtape of Too Short and selling those out of his trunk. Too Short's a millionaire today. Now he's not like a Diddy millionaire, but he made a little something out of something, and he lives a good life. And recently he was in an interview saying, I gotta talk to young people sometimes and tell them, I know you think that you're outpacing the squares, like you out here in the street with a hustle of some sort or another, and you think you're making a little bit of money, you're outpacing others, but I'm telling you, I'm promising you, you're not going to catch up to them. Yes, you are outpacing them for this moment, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, they are going to be running the world and you're not. And this is from a dude who came up through a street hustle, who also has had to navigate attorneys and lawyers and accountants and thieves in suits and all this type of stuff. And, I just thought it was some wise street wisdom to say, you got to do both, right? You got to have your hustle, but you also have to have the smarts. And what am I meaning when I say this? Why am I even bringing this up? I'm bringing it up because whether you go to school or not, education really is about the continuous investment in yourself to understand the world that you live in. So we call it degree education. We say that the degree is the education. I just heard you, Ish, say, no matter what you become, I want you still to read. I still want you to read books, whatever. Now, I told you about my broken pathway, but I was like a voracious autodidact. I was like a self-educator. Like I was like, I'm not stupid. I don't have to go to your school to learn anything, right? Like I wish I had went to school on the normal pathway that everybody else did, because it would have been better for my earning situation. But I also was a self-teacher. Like I was a rigorous self-teacher. I was the worst teacher when it came to being to rigor if I was interested in something.
And it may have deadened you, right? Everything for a reason. So had you gone through the normal process of everybody else, that may have, undermined your own, fire to read. And just before we move on, I think it's really, really important that our audience did not miss. I think they may have missed this point. The grief that you give, your son Josh about that Nelly tape, where you went and got a Too Short mixtape. I just want to call out the irony of
I want
all of
you
that,
to knock it off right now. Because you know what? Let me tell you something right now. Do you know who didn't go and do a Trump ball? Who didn't go and play for Trump? I'll tell you who didn't play for Trump.
Who did?
Too Short. You know who did? Nelly. Nelly and that other animatronic Chuck E. Cheese rapper, Snoop Dogg, went and did like a crypto ball for Trump. And we talked about this night before last on 3 the Hard Way podcast, and I wish y'all brothers had been there because I was having a moment. I'm arguing with Charles and with Torrin about this, and they're like, well, I don't look to Snoop Dogg to have good political opinions and blah blah. And just him because he did that ball doesn't mean anything. It's just
what?
Just a check. Him like doing what rappers do and blah blah blah.
No,
and I'm like, bro, listen, rappers can make decisions. They can make decisions.
Yes.
And one decision could be is I'm not playing at Trump's ball like I'm some sort of animatronic rapper for billionaires. You're already rich enough. I'm sorry, Snoop, you rich enough, aren't you? Anyways, I'm going off topic, but don't give me a hard time about Too Short, because Too Short came up with the game, built his own world, didn't have to finish school to do it, made millions of dollars, just like MC Hammer. I don't know if y'all know this about Hammer, but there was a period of time where Hammer turned down record contracts because he was selling too much out his trunk. Before he got a record contract, he was actually making more money, and they came to him and it was like, yeah, we'll give you $1 million. He's like, what? But you take 80% of the cut?
Yeah, how about that?
And he's like, nah, I'm sorry. Master P, same thing. Master P was like, wait, what? Like, I'm going to give you all of my record and you're going to give me back 20 cents on the dollar? No, I'm sorry.
Own your masters.
Own your masters. That's what Prince tried to teach everybody. But before Prince really got there, because I'm a Prince fan, I like to give that to Prince. Actually, it was the Master P's of the world and the Luke, 2 Live Crew and the others who started out with their Chitlin Circuit record companies. And they were like, no, bro, I'm good. I'll keep all the money and I'll make more money doing that. Anyways, this could look like an aside to people listening to what I'm saying right now. Luke, Master P, all of them, it wasn't college that saved their lives. It was like learning the business that they are in and saying, there's actually a better way to do this business. Let me educate myself, right? With the right attorneys, right lawyers, right situations, whatever. I don't want to put this out there because in some ways it's like telling young people they're going to go into the NBA, telling them that they're going to be a record mogul. But I am saying there is a lane for young people. If you are not going to do the traditional path, we still have to figure something out for you. Sharif, you might know of the brother in Minneapolis here in the Twin Cities. He's actually in St. Paul, Tony Simmons, who runs the high school for the recording arts. It's a school. He started the school specifically to get, what do they call it? Like overage under credit. So he was going look for 19, 20-year-old freshmen is what he was looking for, to pull them back in and see what they would agree to. So he created a high school for the recording arts. Of course, that piqued their interest. And of course, you can learn so much by learning the music business, math, the art, the creative part, how you package a CD, how you sell a CD, how the business works, what the logistic systems look like, all that type of stuff. So it turned out to be a good topic to use for overage, undercredited youth because they were already interested in it. But he was like, yeah, man, this is a business, right? There's a lot of subjects you need to learn if you want to be a successful rapper or whatnot. Now that's good because they were forgotten about. 19 years old, 20 years old, nobody's looking for you. You should have graduated already. You didn't, blah, blah, blah. I'm just wondering how many more of those type of ingenious ways in which we could figure something out for the ones who didn't get dropped off the way that we just dropped kids off in our lives. And for the ones that were like me at that age, because at that age, I was very involved in music. I cared a lot about music. It's the way you could have had me. And good music, not the type of music that y'all would listen to. Just like, just good music. I'll tell you another side. Charles, I'm going to pull you into this podcast, even if you're not here right now. I'll send it to you later, brother, so you know that I called your name multiple times. But, Charles likes to school me on hip hop all the time. We were in his car yesterday. We're rolling through. He's playing stuff. Have you heard this from the blah, blah, the things we might intersect is like where there's this new super group. It's Rakim, Nas, and who's the Most Def. So they've created a super group, the three of them. So him and I, that's where generations might, come together a little bit. But I asked him, so you ever heard of Paris? Like, when was the last time you listened to a Paris album? Right? Looked like a blank spot on the forehead. I was like, wait. You school with me on what's good and blah, 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 about Paris.
Paris the Panther or something like. I never heard it, but I heard people reference it.
Help me out.
Black Panther rap.
Yeah.
He's the Black Panther rap, but Ish, help him out, because the way he even just said it felt a
I'm,
little bit.
I just like, if he walked by me right now, I wouldn't know. If I heard the song, I wouldn't know. But I've heard. Matter of fact, it may have been you who mentioned him
It
before.
was
So
me, bro. You were
yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
go listen to it. You got Apple Music, anything?
No, when I saw that it was $9.99 a month, I was like, no, I'm not doing Apple
Listen,
Music.
I'm about to just email you some MP3s,
Thank you.
so
Thank
you
you.
can just like
Please
play
send
that. You
him.
got
Please
MP3
send
player
him
on your
some.
phone?
I
Send him
don't know.
some. He don't even have. Oh,
Send it.
stop
I'll
it.
hit play. If it works, then I got it. If it
Oh,
doesn't work, I don't
Jesus.
have it.
No
Oh,
doubt.
Jesus. See, this is why the wise had to be in control of things. This right here is like, well, anyways, I do want to end and stay in this just for a minute around. I want to put some focus back on the main topic here today is the college unbound. That you're not going to college. What are we going to do for you? We've talked about the ones that we have to help persist. Talk about the ones that we dropped off. I just I want to keep focus on what we as lay people, civilians, people who have some ability in our cities to influence and keep spotlight on something. What should we spotlight for them? What should we, what can we agree to that we can say we should be saying for this group of people that I feel like don't have any champions right now?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this is so important. I was just having a conversation with someone, and they were like really trying to understand like what the vision of our city should be. Vision of. I was like, no matter what it is, like the youth has to be centralized in that piece. Not America's birthday, not the Pope visiting, not a new football stadium. Like these are all the conversations that typically are had. How is this the year of the youth? How is every year the year of the youth, no matter what year it is, right? And like what does that investment look like, and what does it look like in continuum? Not a weekend, not a summer. What does that look like year round? Because I can't help but to keep thinking about that quote from Malcolm X, where he's like, "I have no mercy or compassion in me for society that will crush people and then penalize them for basically unable to stand up to under the weight." That's how I think about our youth, right? Like, we crush them in whether in schooling system or adjacent to it, and then we penalize them. And it's a lifelong penalty. We continually penalize them for being unable to stand up under the weight. And, for me, that is like one of the biggest things, because we often will put that one thing like, oh, well, Bill Gates did so and so, or Robert Small did. I mean, like we'll put the individual, but like the other thing that Tequila Dr. Brownlee talked about was you got to look at the cohort too, right? Because we all have like narratives of this individual who was able to navigate through the system, but she's like one of the most important data sets is how does that cohort look in a community, in a city, in a school, in a national, like aggregate that as well as disaggregate it and look at it both lenses. Like, oh yeah, we have some folks who, when you disaggregate it, oh, they did this, they moved. How does the entire cohort look? And what percentage of that cohort actually, that is, too often a very damning version, right? And then you also have to disaggregate. We know that, they'll get lost, and then you're just looking at this new denominator, right? We had systems outside of Philly that would send, poor kids, Black kids, brown kids to Six Flags on state testing days, and then show like, oh, look, this is, 99% are, doing exceptionally well. But they had hid groups that they weren't educating well, right? And so looking at the fuller picture, but at the end of the day, this penalty, this lifelong penalty that our youth and then adults are subjected to because of how we choose to engage them or not engage them. To me, that's a critical part of all of this.
Um, I would say that we need to have like a shift in how we even view and value education, right? If we continuously tell students, well, you got to do good at school in order to make money, and that becomes a logical conclusion. I think that is one of those like major psychological barriers from what education should be about, and the value that needs to be found in it. Right? It should be part of the responsibility as growing up as an adult to learn these certain things and engage in certain, you know what I mean? And I think that has lost value. It's more of like, oh, well, you check off the box of these grade levels, right? Even though you can go through a whole year getting A in the class and not learn nothing, but that's on paper now. That looks good. It doesn't matter how you got it. And I think that's part of the culture here, right? And I think that needs to be shifted, especially for our youth to collectively kind of orient themselves to the current context and reality in which we're facing, which isn't good, which is headed in the wrong direction, whatever that means. And we should seize kind of that confusion of this time to really make a point. Like, that you don't learn, you don't gain knowledge and education simply to make money, right? It helps you become a better person. It helps you understand the world more, right? It helps you navigate these structures that exist, right? Because these are not everybody's going to be able to get a college degree. Not everybody can be a carpenter. You know what I mean? And then those type of lists go on. But instead of having those honest conversations with our students, sometimes we engage in gaslighting them to a degree where it's like it's internalized that to themselves they feel like a failure because they're unable to efficiently navigate the realities of this society and this culture.
That's such a tough word. You just say gaslighting them. Um, I feel like that should be your next blog post right there, like parental gaslighting, like, and not even parental, like societal gaslighting young people. Emdin says this thing, Dr. Emdin says this thing that I don't know that I got it the first time I heard him saying, but he's saying, a lot of times that we hold up, so the way we look at history and we hold up people in the past, we forget that they were right for their time. And for their time, they were doing what they were. So we revere them as like they created some sort of maxim for all times. But what our kids understand is the world is unfolding them and we're aging, and their context is shifting and changing, and the way that we think about money and school and job and our relationship with work and the workforce and all that type of stuff is stuck in a moment that isn't their moment. It's stuck in there. So in some ways we're the all-knowing, think we know everything, whatever, because we have so much experience and background. But their response might be, the world is unfolding consistently. We are consistently in an unfolding context, and it's great that you know so much, but you don't know everything about the emerging context, right? And that's the thing where it stops me from being a fascist with my kids is I can only do 50% of the job. I can help them with the past. I can't help them with the future. I don't know. Like we're looking at kids who are going to be alive in 2070, right? We're looking at kids who are going to be alive in 2060. uh God willing, we will make it to 2050 or 2040 or 2045, or even worse, 2028, 2031 in some cases, whatever. And they are actually on path for a world that we will be gone for, and that world is already unfolding. So when we talk about money and school and education and the pathways and what you should do and the way it should look, we are operating with old knowledge. In some ways, the way that artificial intelligence is, it's a genius at the sum total of what's already been done. It's not a genius at prediction, right? That's the thing about artificial intelligence. To some extent, our intelligence is artificial too, because we are masters. We have a PhD in the past. We have a PhD in what has been. Our kids have a master's degree in what is emerging at the moment, and we got to meet them in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, and I think some of the disillusionment is just that, like that you pointed out, like they are looking at the world unfold in front of them, and as you said, the world is unfolding them. They're developing as simultaneously, and they see the raging stuff that's happening. The mayhem and the maelstrom, and at the same time, we're like, "Hey, just do this," and
Okay,
they're like,
stop right now. Stop this right now. What the hell is a maelstrom?
"It's
I know
it's
how to spell it, but what is it?
it's." It's a massive storm. It's chaos. It's just like imagine that.
Okay,
That
you could
yeah.
just say chaos.
Yeah, but I wanted mayhem and maelstrom goes together. You know what I mean? Like it's
I'm giving you a hard time, bro, because now I'm about to use this word. I guarantee you that within the next couple of days, I'm gonna say maelstrom.
yeah. You know what? And you know what? Why that word sticks with me? Because when I was an eighth grade teacher, one of the stories that we were getting into was maelstrom, and we had to describe. So each kid had to describe it in their own way, and some of the
Wow.
ways that he described what a maelstrom was. I don't
Yeah.
know. That word has always just stuck
See what
with me.
happens when you miss a day at school? See what happens when you're my age and you
but
miss today?
it's their creativity, right? Because I wasn't teaching them. This is what it means. This is what it means. When they, when we came across, it was like, all right, look it up, but I want you to define it for me. You know what I mean? And their descriptions of it, as I don't know, it's always, stuck with me. But
Well, I want to thank you, brothers, for another great show. I look forward to these, and we had a couple of weeks there where we all had to miss, or I had to miss, for different purposes. But this is in times of kind of like great noise and chaos and maelstroms. It's nice to be able to know that you can go to a
he
place
said
where
he was
people are
going to
going
use
to
it.
see. I did. I put it right into a sentence. See how good I am with the words. God gave me words. God gave me something, and when God gave me His words, He gave other people a lot of other stuff. He gave me words, so I just I steal them. I just keep adding them. I'm like a word sponge. But it's
And as
nice to
my
know that you get
mom
a
say, that boy got a way with words. She was talking about you. He
I
got a way with
appreciate it.
words.
I appreciate it, and I miss her, and I appreciate it. And I will say this much: the thing that I love right now is that we are in control of our own solutions, and we have all the people in our network. I have you all I could go to. I can ask any question. I got a network now that is better than AI. I have a problem with one of my kids. I have a problem in math. I have a problem with something that's going on, whatever. I have been blessed at this age now to have a network that I can tap into and say, hey, does this sound right to you or whatever? The real trick is to have a problem and then invite a guest onto a podcast like Akil Parker and just interject my problems into the thing.
It's like, hey, so what would you do asking for a friend? It's for the audience.
Yeah. Just asking
you
for a friend.
You texting your wife under the table like, yo.
I heard today that what we got to do is X, and it's nice to be able to have that. I hope we have that on a national scale, and I think we do. We have an upcoming conference for everybody to pay attention to and witness. BMEC is coming up again every year. It's my favorite thing to attend because it's going to be a lot of this. It's going to be a lot. I gain at least 5 people in my network every year from that are invaluable to me learning more of what I need to learn to be a good man, good parent, good educator, good public educator, good civilian citizen, whatever. My network just grows. And BMEC every year, for people who don't know what it is, go to the Center for Black Educator Development. Stay in contact with them through their email list and their newsletter. If you care about these type of topics, if you care about the type of things that we're talking about right now, you will find your people. And we all need people right now. We need people right now. You need people. I need people. Right. So if I'm giving you a resource to find them, thank me. Send me $5, but each. Yeah, just email it to me, whatever. Yeah. Or if you see me, just buy me a dinner or something, whatever. Because it's worth money to be led to your people. It is valuable. I need y'all to start treating this as valuable because right now we're in a world which the powers that would be would love us to act like individuals. Powers that be would love us to see ourselves as rugged individuals. Ain't nothing rugged about being in. The most rugged thing about being an individual is it's stupid. It's stupid. That's what's rugged about it. That's what makes it hard. Solidarity and having your people in a network and being networked, that's power. That's everything. This has been another episode of Freedom Friday, and you are still not free, but you're getting there. You're getting there. You stick with us. You get closer and closer and closer to it. You're getting closer to freedom schools and freedom pedagogy, not fugitive pedagogy, which I do love. I'm not throwing no shade. I'm just saying, but freedom pedagogy is what you get here. And we appreciate that. We appreciate you. Share this with other people that you think might be interested. And as always, we'll see you on the next Freedom Friday.